Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is in London for a meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, a European-led initiative launched by the UK and France. President Zelensky and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer were joined by NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, and Prime Minister Dick Schoof of the Netherlands. The UK urged fellow allies of Ukraine to reach a deal to use frozen Russian assets to strengthen its hand for any future peace talks. DD India's Dheeraj Das has more.
The United Kingdom has called on Ukraine's allies to finalize a deal on using frozen Russian assets to strengthen Kyiv's position in potential future peace negotiations. The appeal came as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in London for talks with members of the Coalition of the Willing. The Coalition of the Willing is a coalition of 33 countries which have pledged strengthened support for Ukraine, going further than the support delivered by the Ukraine Defense Contact Group by pledging readiness to also be part of a peacekeeping force deployed on Ukrainian territory, either by providing troops or contributing in other ways. Earlier, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to 10 Downing Street on Friday ahead of the Coalition of the Willing meeting. Britain urged fellow allies of Ukraine to reach a deal to use frozen Russian assets to strengthen its hand for any future peace talks. During a meeting with Starmer, President Zelensky asserted that Putin is not genuinely interested in ending the conflict and is instead ramping up attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure.
Yes, I agree with you, and that Putin doesn't show that he wants to stop the war, and he really began steps pushing us to such humanitarian disaster. What he wants to organize this winter is, of course, with attacks on energy, on gas, on water supplies. Yeah. It's understandable what to do. I'm very thankful to you that we are not alone in this situation from the very beginning of war, but especially now it's very important.
In response to comments by Zelensky, Starmer told him that there was more that Western allies could do to bolster Kyiv's long-range missile capability.
I do think that this week we can really bear down on Russian oil and gas. Huge steps forward this week already. I think there's further we can do on capability, particularly long-term, long-range capability, and of course the vital work of the Coalition of Willing.
Zelensky met with Britain's King Charles ahead of a Coalition of the Willing meeting. Charles welcomed Zelensky at Windsor Castle, where the two inspected guards. The king has frequently expressed his support for Ukraine, notably hosting Zelensky at his private residence. As United States imposed sanctions on Russia's largest oil companies, Lukoil and Rosneft, and the EU countries approved a 19th package of sanctions on Moscow for its conflict with Ukraine, the Kremlin on Friday said that it's analyzing the latest Western sanctions and will act according to its interests.
At the moment, we are analyzing the sanctions that have been defined and announced, and of course, we will do what best suits our interests. That's the main thing in our actions. We are acting primarily not against someone else. We are acting for our own interest. That's what we will be doing.
Amid this, Russian President Vladimir Putin's special envoy Kirill Dmitriev was in US for meetings with Trump administration officials, including special envoy Steve Witkoff, according to media reports. Dmitriev was expected to meet Trump administration officials to continue discussions about the US-Russia relationship. The London summit comes a day after Zelensky attended a European Council meeting in Brussels, where EU leaders discussed further sanctions against Russia and the use of immobilized Russian assets to fund Ukraine's reconstruction. Dheeraj Das's report for DD India.